Hi, I'm Danny.
And I'm Andrea.
And this is the inaugural video of The Voice of the Meeple. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the Clans of Caledonia. But before we get to that, because this is our first ever video, we just want to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We've been married almost 9 years. We have 2 kids. They're sleeping right behind you in the other room.
Yeah.
So hopefully they don't wake up while we're filming this. But let's tell them what our favorite games are right now. You go first.
At this point, I'd have to say my favorite is Terra Mystica.
My favorite right now, I would have said for a long time Terra Mystica as well, but because whenever we play now, Andrea destroys me at it, I'd have to say probably Terraforming Mars or Scythe. Clans of Caledonia, though, is in the running. It is a great game. We've only played it a few times, but I'm really into it so far. So let's get right into it then.
All right.
All right. So yeah, we'll start off by telling you a little bit about the game. One thing I wanted to point out is the game packs a big punch for how small of a box it comes in. If you compare it to a box like Scythe or Terra Mystica, which it's very similar to, it is a very small, thin box, but the components are amazing. It comes with such a depth of strategy in this game.
It's very well designed.
For such a small little box.
Yeah.
Andrea will tell you a little more about it.
Sure. In Clans of Caledonia, you get to play a different clan from Scotland, and he did do some research on them, right? So it's actual historical clans from Scotland, and their particular strengths and weaknesses are based on strengths and specialties of those clans. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a layout, this area in Scotland, and you're trying to build your clan and get, is it prestige? Glory for your clan. And you do that by farming the land and producing these goods and perfecting them, so turning milk into cheese or turning wheat into bread or whiskey. And you gain glory in 2 main ways, a few other smaller ones, but by fulfilling end of round bonuses. The game is played in 5 rounds, and at the end of each round you can get a particular bonus, and in fulfilling export contracts. So these guys here, you can produce a good and then ship it and get some glory, that's the right word, some glory for your clan. Yeah, that's pretty much the basics. Try to expand, get lots of hexes, lots of little sheep and cows. Lots of glory.
Yeah. Now we'll talk to you about things we like about the game.
Okay.
One big thing for me, and you'll hear me compare it a lot to Terra Mystica because in a lot of ways it is very similar,
Yeah.
but it improves on Terra Mystica in a lot of ways as well. The first way is the map itself. If you notice, it comes in 4 pieces. It's a modular map. Each piece is reversible, so you can flip them over, and it's a variation on that. So you get 16 different maps basically with the one modular map. That just leads to replayability and unpredictability. That you're not going to have all 16 memorized, so it's going to keep things fresh. Another big one is the market. The market is a really interesting piece, and it's kind of the equivalent of the cult tracks in Terra Mystica.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot more interesting though. You use that, so you have the option throughout the game of producing the goods, but you don't have to produce them to export them. You can also go to the market to buy them, or you can sell goods that you did produce at the market, and the price will adjust. It'll go up or it'll go down. When you buy, it pushes the price upward. When you sell, it pushes the price down. And everybody else is doing the same thing, so it leads to a lot of interesting decisions on whether to produce it or whether to go buy it at the market.
Yeah, you get to watch supply and demand in action, which is fascinating.
Yeah. Another interesting piece is the export contracts themselves. They lead to a lot of interesting strategic decisions. Early on in the game, they're cheap. They actually pay you to take them early on. In the first round, you get money for taking export contracts. At the end of the game, you're paying a pretty steep price for taking them.
Yeah.
So you're encouraged to take them early on, but the more you try to fulfill in the first round, the less you can expand, and you might miss out on expanding. So interesting decisions there.
Definitely.
One other thing, the quality of the components is astounding, especially for how quickly Juma got this game out. I backed it, I think, in July, and we got it last month in October.
Yeah.
Super quick for a Kickstarter. And you just look at these pieces here. The whiskey barrels, I love these.
Big cartons of milk.
And yeah, cartons of milk, really cool. The coins, these metal coins, this is a Kickstarter thing, but I'm sure you can get them afterwards, hopefully. And yeah. What about some things we dislike about the game?
One thing I didn't like about it is you're kind of locked into a strategy that you pick at the beginning of the game. There's a pretty big expenditure. Like Danny was saying, if you decide to go with a few more of these here, you miss out on the opportunity to expand. Or if you go for a particular route like wheat fields, if that isn't panning out for you, it's really difficult to pivot and go a different route. So that's a bit of a challenge. Another issue is with the export contracts themselves. There's 6 that you can see right at the beginning when you're trying to decide which route to take. But after that, they all come from a random selection of these 2 big stacks here. So you can't predict what's going to come out later in the game. You might go in on a particular route and then find out it isn't paying off at the end. And that's something I think I'll just have to get used to. But right at the beginning, it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, we actually had a game last night where Andrea kind of went all in on the whiskey strategy. She had Clan Mackenzie, I think it is. And they specialize in whiskey. And there were even, I think, 3 or 4 contracts out right away that had whiskey in them.
Right.
But then throughout the game, not a single other contract with whiskey came out. So she went all in on whiskey, and it just hurt her. So that can be a big luck element in the game. One other thing, the flip side of the modular map, which I mentioned earlier, is if you're kind of obsessive like me with things being perfect, when you put down something on the map, it'll slide sometimes. That's a little annoying. It is just more prone to messing up the map because they're 4 separate pieces and they're not clipped together.
Right.
It's a great game. Highly recommend it.
Nailed it.